Welcome to Sergeant Dorsey Speaks. I'm a retired 20-year veteran sergeant of the Los Angeles Police Department, and I am not afraid to pull the covers back, expose that thin blue line, and talk to you honestly and candidly about police training, police policy, and a whole lot about police culture. Welcome to Sergeant Dorsey Speaks across all of my social media platforms: Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I apologize for being a little tardy getting to you, but family, sometimes I just have to take a step back for my own mental health. And so this situation that jumped off on Monday in Minneapolis has really had me in a bad headspace. And so I needed to just really take a moment. I wanted to come to you and talk to you about this incident, but I really have to temper my comments. And so it just took me a little time to do that. And I'm talking for those of you who may not know, and I don't know how you couldn't unless you live under a rock. Minneapolis police officers on Monday killed in their custody George Big Floyd. George Floyd was unarmed on Monday when officers confronted him. Evidently, they responded to a radio call of a forgery suspect there now. You know, forgery. Somebody signed an instrument using someone else's name, right? That happens in check writing. Forgery could happen in check writing. It could happen someone trying to purchase something and use a credit card and sign someone else's name. Now, how they knew Big Floyd, I'm going to refer to him as he's referred to affectionately, was committing forgery, I don't know. Don't even know if it was a real thing. And so this is what officers need to be aware of and concerned about when they respond to radio calls, because just because a thing comes out over your radio doesn't mean that that's necessarily what's going on. And so that's where common sense comes into play. And listen, I say all the time, if sense were common, everyone would have it. And so we have officers responding to a forgery call. Now, granted, forgery suspects are technically a felon, but you don't expect a forgery suspect to be anyone violent like you might expect a murderer or a robber, right? Nonetheless, they're investigating this alleged forgery, and so they encounter Big Floyd. And what happens next is, well, we don't know. We see something where someone is recording an altercation, if you will, between, not really an altercation, because that takes two people, an assault. Officers are assaulting Big Floyd. They have him down on the ground near a tire of a police vehicle. One of the officers, and none of them have been identified, but one of the officers can be clearly seen in this video that's gone viral with his knee on the neck of Big Floyd as Big Floyd was facing the pavement with his face turned to the side. And you can hear the people in the background, and I'll play the video for you, and I'm going to warn you now, it's very graphic. It's very graphic. It's very hard to watch. And, you know, as a mother of 4 young black men myself, it was most difficult for me to watch. And that's why I've had so much consternation, and it's taken me so long to come to you to talk about this. But what happened is that the officers allege that Big Floyd was resisting. That term that they like to use. He was resisting arrest. And in so doing, they started to get physical with him. And this one officer says he couldn't handcuff him. Well, hell, it was 2 of them. I don't know why 2 fully grown men couldn't handcuff one. I get that one of the officers, you see the video, he looks like really half a man, right? So maybe that's why they couldn't handcuff Big Floyd, because it was really like 1.5 officers. Nonetheless, I'm going to show you the video. And again, we'll talk on the other side of it. Graphic.
In that shit right now, bro. You could have fucking put him in the car by now, bro. He's not resisting arrest or nothing. You enjoying it. Look at you. Your body language explains it. You fucking bum.
Bro, get the fuck off of here.
It's the whites. They love
But,
them at the
no, I already know that, bro. I trained with half of these bum ass dudes at the academy, bro. You know that's bogus right now, bro. You know it's bogus. You can't even look at me like a man because you a bum, bro. He's not even resisting arrest right now, bro.
His nose is bleeding.
You fucking stopping his breathing right now, bro. You think that's cool? You think that's cool
really
though,
not.
right? What's your oh man, what's your badge number, bro? You think
Honestly.
that's cool right now, bro?
You'll call police on another police.
You think that's cool though, bro? You're a bum, bro. You're a bum for that. You're a bum for that, bro. You getting mad. You just sitting there stopping his breathing right now.
Look
The
at
dude
him.
about to go out right now, bro.
Look at
Bro.
him.
Get
Get off of him now.
What is wrong with y'all?
What the fuck? He got made. He got made. He cannot breathe. Get over here. No, first of all.
Bro, look, well, you can check on him. He's not responsive right now. He's not responsive
Look at him.
right now. He's not responsive right now. He's not responsive right now. He's not responsive right now, bro. No, bro, look at him. He's not responsive right now, bro.
Check for a pulse.
Bro, are you serious? You gonna just let him sit there with that on his
Let me
neck,
see a
bro?
pulse.
Is he breathing right now? Check his
How long will we
pulse.
have this conversation?
Check his pulse.
Okay.
Check his pulse,
All
Tou.
right.
Tou, check his pulse.
This right here is a coward. And there were a couple of them visible. Now, we now know, because it's been reported that 4 officers have been fired. It was initially reported that the 2 had been relieved of duty, suspended, but now we know that 4 officers have been fired. So evidently there were others that we probably couldn't see in this video clip who were there. But I had a subby reach out to me, you know, because everybody was wondering, Sergeant Dorsey, what do you think? What do you have to say? And one of my subbies was talking to me about having a conversation with his son, who wondered, why didn't anybody jump in and help? Well, you could see at one point one of the officers, the coward right there, the unnamed coward, who sat with all of his weight on the neck of Big Floyd, just watching as if he were waiting and really admiring his handiwork. He never offered any aid to Big Floyd. He never got on a radio, as far as we could see, to request paramedics to come and offer some sort of assistance to Big Floyd, as he begged and pleaded, saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. We've heard that before, right? And then at some point you see him just kind of go limp. You see another white woman come into the frame, and it sounds like, I don't know if she's a medical professional, but she said, I need to take his pulse. I need to take his pulse. And this jackass would not allow her to do that. And at some point, someone did try to get a little bit closer, and you see him, Billy Badass, grab for his mace. If anyone had intervened, I believe, and I shared this with my subby, if anyone had intervened, surely this jackass probably would have shot them. So that's why no one intervened, because at the end of the day, family, I say it all the time, the goal is to survive the encounter, to walk away from that encounter alive. And in this case, Big Floyd didn't get a chance to do that. The public information officer for the Minneapolis Police Department first tried to float the story that it appeared that Big Floyd may have been under the influence. Now, first they said he was a forgery suspect. Then they said, well, he may have been under the influence. So maybe they thought he was a forgery suspect under the influence. Having said that, when that didn't go over so well, then they said, well, it looked like he was having some kind of a medical emergency, but they didn't offer him any aid. We didn't see them requesting any assistance for him. And so now, while the Minneapolis Police Department may have tried to minimize and mitigate this terrible, terrible behavior on the part of these officers, they can no longer do that. They being the Minnesota Police Department, referred this case to the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. Now, I don't know, because, you know, I believe that one hand washes the other. I don't know that to be true. I'm just not trusting. And so they tried to pass this off to the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension to investigate. That was on today. Now we know that the FBI has joined into the investigation. And so that doesn't bring me any comfort either, because at the end of the day, you know and understand who oversees the FBI. And given all that has gone on with this current administration, and cases going away and people being pardoned and fired when they do try to do the right thing under the watchful eye of Attorney General William Barr, I don't know what the FBI is going to really be able to do. The officers have now been fired, 4 of them. And the reason that 4 of them have been fired is because, as the one officer, this guy, is the one who's putting the pressure and ultimately responsible for Big Floyd's death, everyone who stood around and watched, we call it acquiescing. When you watch police misconduct occur, when you watch unnecessary use of force occur that ultimately leads to an in custody death, that is also misconduct. And so I believe that's probably why the 4 officers were fired. And so listen, while it was swift, certainly it was something that they could not deny, that almost had to be done based on the outrage that has been expressed over this viral video. But listen, is there going to be a criminal charge? And then you know what comes after that, because a criminal charge, we're just shifted into first gear. We need then some kind of an indictment or a trial. And at the end of the trial, we need a penalty that is commensurate with the crime, murder that these officers committed. And listen, I'm going to say murder because you see him, it was deliberate, and intent can be formed in a nanosecond. This officer was intent on causing great bodily harm and or death. You have to know as a trained police professional that sitting with all of your weight on someone's neck is certainly going to cause death. He physically resisted the code talk that they use each and every time when they want to use deadly force. You see in this video officers wearing black gloves. I tell you, when officers put on black gloves, black leather gloves, that means they're about to put hands on you. And here we have an example of just that very thing happen. Floyd was already dead by the time he had been transported to a hospital, I believe. I believe they transported him to a hospital knowing he was dead. This officer sitting there looking at him. He surely can't feel his heart, his chest heaving as he's breathing. They transported him to the hospital, a local area hospital, to cover their ass because they knew if they pronounced him dead right then and there, covered him with a sheet, all hell would undoubtedly break loose. And so let us not be lulled into a false sense of security because now the FBI is involved. And let us not be happy or content with the mere firing of these officers. There needs to be a criminal conviction, there needs to be a trial, and there needs to be a penalty, substantive, commiserate with the actions of these officers. I will come back to you with more as more is known. This is going to be continuing breaking news probably for the next couple of days. Until I get back to you, family, please, please be good and be safe.